Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on his way to London after meeting with Qatari officials in a push to end the Israeli-Hamas war. Meanwhile, Palestinian medical officials say at least 16 people are dead after an Israeli strike on a Gaza school-turned-shelter. A spokesperson from Al-Awda Hospital says at least 32 were also injured in that attack, most of them children and elderly people. ABC News foreign correspondent Tom Soufi Burridge joins me now from Tel Aviv, Israel, with more on that. Tom, what more are you hearing about this latest strike in Gaza?
Yeah, we're watching the images actually coming out. It's Nuseirat, that's in the central area of the Gaza Strip. It's on a school where a lot of families were sheltering. You know, the images, some of them are hard to watch, but we're seeing images of young children and elderly people in amongst the injured and the dead. The IDF says it was targeting a Hamas command and control center in that school. It's important to point out, Diane, I think, that, you know, we've seen the IDF strike schools repeatedly over a number of months. It's been condemned by the UN. The IDF, Israel, continues to insist that it is Hamas which is sheltering within the civilian population. But, you know, we're seeing a very, very bleak picture on the ground in Gaza right now. You know, heavy casualties in that strike, but also up in the north, in the Jabalia refugee camp, where the IDF is moving tens of thousands of people out of there. We're seeing very little aid getting into those hardest hit areas, and we're seeing very heavy casualties in what is, you know, still a very significant military operation by the IDF, even after Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, was taken out last week.
Now, Secretary Blinken has left the region. So where do negotiations stand after this meeting with Qatari officials? Because there was really this attempt for a new push for peace. Is it working?
Well, the mediators are talking, and that's what we saw today, effectively, the Qataris and Blinken and his team meeting. But look, there's no sense that, you know, direct talks between Hamas and what is left of it and the Israeli government are actually happening right now. I mean, look, Antony Blinken was saying that in the coming days, negotiators could, you know, be talking again. But I think there is a big cloud of uncertainty over this idea that ceasefire talks could get moving, certainly in the time frame before the US election. I don't see that as being very likely right now. And you know, on this trip, we've seen Antony Blinken now leaving the Middle East. He's heading to London now. But he basically dropped the word ceasefire at some point during the trip and was talking about the end of the war rather than a ceasefire. He now in Qatar is talking back about the prospect of trying to get negotiations going towards some kind of ceasefire. But the reality on the ground, as I said already, is pointing in the other direction. The IDF is really still mounting significant military operations. The civilian population in Gaza is suffering as a result of that. We're seeing, you know, evidence of very small pockets of Hamas resistance. That's what Israeli officials says the IDF is going after. But the collateral, the suffering of civilians in Gaza right now, I mean, it almost looks like it is potentially one of the worst it's been in a year of war. And given the bleak standards that war has set, that is really saying something. Diane?
Foreign correspondent Tom Soufi Burridge in Israel, thank you.